Hey guys, welcome back to Jujube DIY. Today we're making 2 rustic farmhouse spring signs. This will be part 1 of a 2-part series, so let's get into it. For our first DIY, we're going to take 2 of these longer Dollar Tree signs. You can pretty much find these year-round anymore. And we're going to take that paper off. This method works really great if you have the kind of MDF boards. You just spritz it with some water. Just keep water in one of those little spray bottles and then spritz it on and wait about 10 minutes. And then just using a scraper, you can get underneath. If it doesn't quite get underneath that kind of plastic coating, scrape and then add a little more water and pretty soon it will just scrape right off. Now we are going to use these jumbo craft sticks. These are like the big ones from Walmart, and I'm going to cut them down so that they are straight on each end. I don't want those curved lines, and that's just because I wasn't sure if it was going to show through or not, because I am leaving a little bit of a gap in between my 2 boards, and so I wanted these to just sit right, snug up against each other all the way down the board. But I'm just going to hot glue those on. And as you can see, I'm just butting them end to end there and leaving a little bit of space. And that's because these boards had the slats already grooved into them. If you can find those boards from the Dollar Tree, definitely grab a few because they're really convenient to have those little slats already in there. But if you can't find ones like that, you can definitely just paint these on using a ruler to get those straight lines. So this is a Café Noir color from Hello Hobby. That's the Walmart chalk paint. And I'm just taking a small paintbrush and I'm going into those grooves just to darken them up. Next, I'm going to paint my whole entire sign with this lavender color. This is actually the Waverly chalk paint in lavender and white mixed together. I just wanted a softer purple color. Next, once that's dry, I'm going to go in with the mineral chalk paint from Waverly, and I'm going to give this whole thing a dry brush with a chip brush. This is just giving it that distressed look and, making this more farmhouse and rustic, which is definitely what I was going for with these signs today. So I'm just going to continue doing that. I worked in small sections. You can do this however you want. It doesn't matter. Distressing is just distressing. It's just making it look a little bit older, and however you want to do that is okay. After I did go in with that mineral color, I did go back in with a little bit of that Café Noir all over my board just to deepen up those colors, and you'll see that here in just a minute. So this here is these adorable little boxes from the Dollar Tree. I picked these up just a few weeks ago, actually. And they are kind of like slatted square bins. I don't know what to call them, but they're perfect. They had little twine on the sides for a handle. I did cut that off because I didn't really want that on there. You could leave that if you wanted to, but I just gave those a coat of the Waverly wax, antique wax that's been watered down. Just brush that on and then wipe off any excess. Make sure you get all those little grooves. And then we're just going to glue these down. I am using a combination of the super glue wood glue that I pick up from the Dollar Tree and some hot glue. So I'm going to just run that all over the backside of my little crate. I guess square crate is what these would be probably. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue here. I did mark out with a ruler. I don't always mark out things with a ruler, but I did want this to be more precise. So I have an exact same space in between each of my crates there. So I did measure that out and I just marked it with a little pencil and I glued those right down to the very bottom of my sign. Next, I'm going to take one of these. This is us wall clings from the Dollar Tree. These are really cute. I hadn't seen them before. And I loved this font, so I wanted to use this for my sign. Anything that you want to use on your sign is perfectly wonderful. You can use vinyl, you can use hand lettering, you can use stickers, you can use, whatever you want. Make this project your own. But I am using a ruler here. I'm going to make sure that it's pretty even on both sides. as far as where the text starts and ends. And then I'm going to use my ruler here to try and get it as straight as possible. I do love this grid ruler for that because you can see through those lines, line it up on one of those straighter lines, and voila, you've got a straight line. How many times can I say straight line? So I'm just going to burnish that down a little bit with my scraper tool. I did go in with a little bit of purple on the middle part of my little crates. And now I am just adding a little decoration onto the tops of each of these little crates. Some little sticks kind of with berries on the end and some leaves. And I'm just using a, I think it's a extra fine Posca pen. I'll leave that in my description box down below along with everything that I use. But I do like this little pen. It works really well and it has a very opaque paint in it. So now I am putting one of these little terracotta pots from Michael's in each of my little boxes there. And then I'm just going to put in some floral foam. This is just floral foam from the Dollar Tree. As you can see, it had been previously used, but it still works to hold those flowers in place. And I am just adding a variety of flowers from Walmart. The lavender is from Walmart. These tulips are from Michael's. And then the greenery is just kind of a mix of like Walmart, Dollar Tree, and probably Michael's. So I just use whatever I have on hand. And that's pretty much it for this project. I just filled up each of these little boxes with different florals that were all in the same color scheme. And this is how it turned out. I am going to have this piece as a stand-up piece for my living room. But if you wanted to make it a hanging piece, definitely use some heavy-duty hardware for that. So for DIY number 2, this one is a little bit more involved. It doesn't have to be, but I wanted to show you my process on how I painted my truck, which is a little more involved. So if you don't want to do all of these details, you definitely don't have to. I was just showing you there a picture that I pulled up from Pinterest. I looked to find a truck that I liked the style of, and now I am just kind of using that picture as inspiration on where I want to add some highlights and lowlights and all of the little details for my truck. Like I said, you definitely don't have to do this part. I think these little trucks look perfectly wonderful, painted a single color. And I don't think you have to add all these details, but if you want to go the extra mile and add them in, I'm going to show you how I did that. So I had painted my truck with that lavender and white mixture that I had used in my previous project. And actually I had used that in a project, my tier tray project that I did last week. So it's the same lavender color that I'd used in that project, and I had just painted the whole entire truck with that. And now I am taking the lavender color in its natural form, or in the color that comes straight out of the bottle. I'm painting that on now as some little details. So I'm just using a detail brush here. I watered my paint down just a teeny tiny bit just to make it a little more fluid. And then looking at my picture, I am just basically copying where that artist had put those darker lines. Now I'm going to go in and do a little bit of shading here. This is purple and orange mixed together. It is very subtle, but I wanted this to be a little bit darker. You could go in with a gray, like a cool toned gray, like steel gray would work perfectly for this. And I actually do end up going in with a little bit of lavender and steel gray later on. But I thought that the orange kind of would add that more kind of rustic look, so to speak. So that's why I added orange. And I'll leave in my description box down below all the colors that I used. So if you're looking to create these exact same colors, you definitely can. So I'm just going around adding the shading where I see it on my picture. And then I went in and just added some highlights around my truck with that Posca pen. And this I just kind of did on my own. There was a little bit of highlighting in that picture, but I did a little bit more than the artist in the picture had done. I really liked the wheels in that picture, so I wanted to kind of recreate that same look. So I started off with the steel gray, going all the way around that kind of hubcap area, and then I go in with white, and I am mostly covering up the gray, but I'm kind of keeping it a little not full coverage. So in some places that gray or the steel gray color shows through. So on the inspiration piece, there also was a color that matched the truck on the hubcaps. So that's what I'm doing. I just decided to go in with the same purple that I painted my truck in, and I'm going to go around the hubcaps. And I'm just creating a small circle all the way around with my paintbrush. And I'll do this to both tires. I'm just showing you one side though. So then going in with some black and white, I created a very dark gray color, and I'm going to add a little bit of dark on that side of the middle of the hubcap. And that just gives it a little bit of shading where, you know, like it wouldn't be as light over there. And then, yeah, and then I'll just kind of add some more highlights with that Posca pen, just going around the tire, just kind of however I felt like it. It just doesn't have to make sense in my mind because I like that whimsical look. So, you know, like if highlight isn't going to be on the bottom of the tire, that's cool with me. Doesn't bother me. I just like the way it looks. So do whatever makes your heart happy and whatever pleases you. Add those highlights and lowlights wherever you think. And if you don't like something, definitely paint over the top of it. That's the great thing about paint. And I've said that before. If you don't like something, start over, paint over it again and start over. There is no way you can really mess up paint. So going in with that darker color that I created with the black and white, I am going to just kind of dry brush that on to my truck bed, the railing of the truck bed, just to add some dimension there. And I do kind of go in these areas where it would be just a little bit darker because of where the fenders are sitting on the truck. So again, I just kind of add where I think it might need it, you know, kind of those bottom areas, you know, it's going to be darker down there. And if this is an old dirty truck, it's going to be darker and a little bit dirtier down at the bottom of your truck. So that is how my truck looks. Moving on to the other part of the sign here, I have this wood round that I picked up from the Dollar Tree as well. I painted this with the Waverly chalk paint in plaster. And now I am just adding in some lines. I wanted to give it kind of that light illusion that this is shiplap, and I am just using a regular pencil. This is just a regular school pencil, and I am just creating those lines, and I believe that those lines are 1.5 inches in between, but you can definitely do whatever spacing in between your lines if you choose to do that that you would like. So I'm going to continue all the way down my circle until I have all the lines that I need in place. And then I'm going to go in with just my finger, and I'm just going to smudge out those lines a little bit just to kind of give it that more rustic farmhouse feel. Now for our arrow, I painted that with the Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Sage. I love that green color. It has a very blue undertone, and that one just really speaks to me. I know a lot of people like the Waverly Celery, and I like that one too, but I really like this one that's got that blue undertone. The Celery has more of a red undertone, and I just kind of prefer those cooler colors. So that's why I went with that. And then I created this fresh farm or farm fresh flower market in my I use Publisher on my computer, and I just created that. And this will be a printable for you that you can use and borrow. And I just put that graphite paper behind it and then traced over all of my words to transfer that graphite paper on to my arrow. So now that the letters are all transferred onto my arrow, I am going in with that Posca pen in black, and I am going to fill in all of the letters on this sign. Tip for those Posca pens, just really take your time and go slow, and they work great. So I've been very happy with how I can fill in smaller areas with this marker pen. And it is an acrylic paint pen, so it works great with all of your acrylic projects. So now that that is dry, I am taking the twine that is attached to my arrow, and I purposely did this because I knew this was how I wanted to hang my sign. So I am cutting that twine hanger in half, and then I'm going to feed those through my round sign. I just put a little bit of tape on the bottom there so I could thread it through, and then I'm going to just knot this right down to the front of this round sign. And you can see me doing that here. I just made that arrow sit as, you know, flush or straight as possible, so that when it hangs, it'll hang straight. And yeah, just going to tie those down. And then I'll just cut them off right close to the knot. So now I'm going to add some tumbling tower blocks to the back side of my truck. And I'm purposely going in a little bit further so that if you happen to look at it from the side, you aren't going to see those tumbling tower blocks. I mean, you're going to have to look really super well in order to find them. They're low profile enough, but I figured if they were sitting in to the center a little bit more, they'll be even less visible. So then I am going to just hot glue those tumbling tower blocks right to my wood round. And I kind of placed it in there, you know, placed it down to kind of figure out where I wanted it, make sure that it was straight before I actually glued it down so that I knew where I wanted to put it. So we're just going to glue that. And now I'm going to take these lavender picks from Walmart. I love these. I think that these are probably the better, like from between Dollar Tree and Walmart, the Walmart lavender is a lot better in my opinion, but use whatever florals you want for this part. I just thought the lavender was really beautiful and worked really well with the colors that I had chosen for my sign. So I wanted to create a little flower bouquet. So I just took 4 of the picks, or 4 of the individual lavender blooms, put them together, add a little twine around it, and then I just hot glued that onto my arrow. And then I'm just going to fill in more lavender as I feel like maybe it needs. So I just wanted that lavender to be kind of bursting out of the back of my truck. Now I wanted to add just a little bit more, so I thought some twine around the very front part of the arrow, just between where the arrowhead and the body of the arrow meet, would be cute. So I'm just kind of putting that on there in a very like non-methodical way, just however it goes. And then I just add a hanger to the top, and here is a look at how this one turned out. I am in love with this sign, actually. I think it turned out so beautiful, and I think that those little details on the truck just add so much character and a whimsy to this sign. And yeah, I definitely will be keeping my hands on this one for my own home decor. So that's all I have for you guys today. As always, let me know in the comments down below which project was your favorite. Stay tuned for Wednesday. Part 2 will be out Wednesday. That's 2 more spring farmhouse signs that you're not going to want to miss. Make sure your notifications are on. And I hope you have a happy, healthy, and blessed day. And I will see you then. Bye!